You've
Doesn't mean they won't bring it up.
You're reminding me of these extra.
Okay, Chatty.
He takes care of
They'll
me.
put it out.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm calling the select board meeting. If, please, no talking in the audience. I'm going to call the select board meeting of Tuesday, June 24th to order. And the first item is approval of the agenda.
I move.
So moved.
We have a
Moved and
motion.
second.
Moved and seconded. Any changes to the agenda? We do have a small change in what we're seeking out of the Green Mountain Power discussion. Other than that, if everybody's in favor of the agenda as drafted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next is approval of the consent agenda.
I move.
Moved
Second.
and seconded. Anything anybody would like to talk about or highlight in the consent agenda? Any changes to the minutes? Hearing nothing. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as drafted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, citizen comments. I gotta believe somebody's here for something that's not on the agenda, is that true?
Yes. I can't see anybody. Sorry. Ravel Allen, Middlebury, and I am here once again to talk about the resolution supporting due process and constitutional rights for Middlebury citizens, for everybody actually, but you all probably saw the article in last week's paper about Virgins having passed a civil rights resolution, which was actually written and put forward by City Councilor Mark Koenig. I still think it's a very important thing to have supported. History shows that if the rights of any one group are violated, then it just makes it that much easier for the rights of other groups that don't conform to the beliefs of the people in power are also going to be targeted, and that the silence of us as citizens and of public officials amounts to complicity with what's coming down from above. And we've already had people in Vermont taken off the streets, and now ICE officials have gone even further in their abuses by taking senators down to the floor and handcuffing them for wanting to ask a question at a press conference, or the comptroller in New York, who was also, taken into handcuffs. They were released later, but still, it's abusive. It's an abuse of power. It's goes against our Constitution, which guarantees the rights of our citizens to due process, to have a lawyer, to be heard. And they're not being heard. In most cases, they don't, the people taking them in do not even have a judicial warrant. And I feel like it's a danger to all of us in that, in recognizing it through a resolution, we are letting our citizens know, and others know in the state of Vermont, that we are not going to stand by and just give our passive assent to what's going on in our country right now. And I hope at this point that you all have seen the resolution, as well as maybe some letters that were sent to Mark this past week from citizens of Middlebury.
Is that set up?
I don't remember seeing it.
I'm sorry, I did not send it out. I did receive two or three emails. I anticipated more as we were getting closer and closer to tonight, so I can share those with you this evening, though.
But you do have the resolution?
No.
No.
Oh my God. All right. Well, and you're gonna be seeing more of me because I really feel that this should be put on the agenda.
So let's just talk quickly about this. I polled the board at the end of our last meeting, and none of the board members were for taking this up as a board. I'll give the board an opportunity to ask questions or make any comments, because I don't want to keep cycling this, frankly. As the chair, I would not bring it on unless the board is a majority votes for it. This is exactly the slippery slope that I was talking about on the last one, in that there is a clear and present issue with medical support to our citizens in our community in SNAP. There is not a clear and present danger in Vermont to the majority of the citizens as I see it. We have the luxury of having a state that has a pretty strong judicial system. Judge Sessions actually wrote an opinion that went against, exactly made the statement. For me, this is a judicial issue. It's a shame that some of the justices in the country see it differently, but this is, it's already legislated. We have laws, and I'm just not interested at a town select board level taking up these huge issues. We have issues that the people elected us to deal with, and if we start taking up every one of these issues because we don't like what's going on nationally, it's gonna eat up our time, especially with what's going on nationally. I like it. I don't approve of it, but I also would be very firm in saying I'm not going to take it up here. I'll leave it for the rest of the board.
So at the last meeting, I know you're right, we did the poll, and my stance, in my mind at least, was I didn't know the details of this resolution. I didn't know the details of anything. I said I can't speak to, and still can't speak too much because I don't know what it is. So that's why I said I'm not willing to take it at that time.
Andy has his hand.
Andy?
Yeah, I hope my internet connection supports my comments. I think due process is as if
He jinxed himself.
Can't even turn his video off.
important.
Hey, Andy, can you turn your video
as
off and see if
federal
it comes?
budget that affect us. Actions we've seen.
Andy, can you hear us?
Turn your video off, Andy, and
I
talk.
can hear you fine. Let me try without video and let me know if you can hear me. I am, I think, probably as concerned as Ravel about this issue. I just think that, as I mentioned before, this is not an issue where people elected to take care of the town business have a meaningful voice. As an individual citizen, I spent hours soliciting honks from people during the No Kings protest. As a individual citizen of the state and country, I have a voice that's meaningful here. But as a representative of the town and the town's business, I do not think it is appropriate to weigh in on matters of state and national politics. I'm sorry, Ravel.
It's awkward to say that something's been rejected without having seen it. I abstained last meeting because I think, isn't there a way that we could handle things like this, as long as they affected the town in some way that was shown by what was submitted as the Medicaid and resolution had a lot of support, letters from the president of the hospital and so forth. If there's strong evidence of local support and local impact of it, can it be something that could be on the consent agenda? People are worried about it spending too much time.
Right.
We approve a lot of stuff on the consent agenda, and maybe there's a way to be responsive to citizens. I think on principle we ought to look at things before we say yes or no as gatekeepers.
But we
Could we develop some kind of procedure for that deals with the concerns that people have about it taking too much time of the board, but is responsive to citizens?
I would say if that's the direction of the board, we can
Yes,
certainly.
it's us that do that, not him. It would be us that would make something like that, not the town manager.
I'm just suggesting a procedure.
Right. That would be something we would decide.
Mine came up some criteria for it that sort of followed what we did with the last one. I wondered if the members.
I mean, does everybody not understand what she's asking us? I mean, we don't have the verbiage of the resolution, but the issue is pretty clear here with what she's asking us to address.
I can read it, but you probably don't want to take that much
No,
time.
if you could, not read it, but if you could leave it, we'll get it out
Yeah.
to us, and then we'll talk about it at the next board meeting.
Brian?
And- Yes,
I have another concern.
yes,
In talking with Susan Clark, who wrote a book about small d democracy in Vermont, the concern is that politics beyond the local level is incredibly partisan and non-communicative. That we draw ourselves into our corners and cannot begin to understand people who disagree with our fundamental biases and positions. And the localist level is the only place where we get together and we understand that people on the volunteer fire department voted for Trump, and we understand that our neighbors might not agree with us on everything, and they're still good people who help us out on a weekend, who have a good yard sale, who help us shovel our road. And I think that when we get involved as a town in these things, on the consent agenda or anywhere, we are sacrificing some of that sense of community to these partisan issues that take place at higher levels. Thank you.
Is upholding the Constitution a partisan issue?
It
So-
is right now, Rebecca, I'm sorry.
It is a little bit, okay? So, the very first ice raid with the 8 farm workers is a very good customer, a friend of mine.
Right.
I'm as
I remember you
I'm
said
as
that.
outraged as you are, but it's along the lines of what Andy just said, in that I do not feel that is the role of our governance within this town and the community. And I think that the board will have a separate discussion about our role. I mean, I got Fred, who's got all the time in the world. He wants to spend time rewriting the book of Job, and it's just, we do not all have that much time. We have particular things that we are responsible for, that we are directly responsible for. And to take up these issues in a governance situation, I mean, I've taken them up in other roles that I'm in. I frankly am opposed to the town leadership getting involved in that type of a political situation. So,
I hear you. I feel like it might be a different matter if, it comes to a point where our president is calling in the National Guard because he doesn't like the protests that are going on here, or things of that nature. I mean, talk about a slippery slope. Our federal government is on a slippery slope, and it's a lot more dangerous than here, but
I commanded the Army Guard. That was the job that I did before I retired from the Army.
Oh.
And so I'm very familiar with what's the stuff that's going on. I tell you that we'll have to have a discussion, because the board is a majority, we'll have to vote for it, and before we spend time on it.
All right,
okay?
yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody else had a hand up?
Laura
Judy?
had a hand up. Laura had a hand up before.
Okay.
Laura.
I have a separate topic.
Yeah.
Judy, your mic is open.
Am I okay to speak?
You are, Judy?
Okay. So, first and foremost, I would like to thank whoever was responsible for the beautiful crosswalks. I hope you've heard many commendations about that. They're awesome. And I hope they stay in place forever. I wish I could be there in person, but the heat has just gotten to me. And I feel like I'm melting, sort of like the Wicked Witch of the West. The other thing is, I don't know how this plays out, but I really want to say how grateful I am for anybody involved in the town pool being opened. The last 2 days for people who are in need of a place to go. For the rec department, the rec building being open for people in need. I volunteer at the Charter House on Mondays, and there were some that came there that were so ragged. So ragged. No air conditioning, no place to escape, no in-ground pool. I think the thing that was most heartbreaking was a mom with her 2 teenage daughters that was coming to try to find out where they could get ice. But I want to thank whoever was involved in making the pool open, making the rec department open. I am so grateful. With that being said, what Ravel's resolution, and it's not just hers, it's about a larger thing than that. I'm going to intone my newest best friend, Cory Booker, Senator from New Jersey. And this is not political. Andy, I will argue to the cows come home, which is very appropriate here in Vermont. This is not political. It's not left or right. It's not liberal or conservative. It's about right and wrong. This is a moral moment. And I will be so disappointed and so disheartened if the members of the select board cannot step up and sign on to this. This is not political. This is about compassion. You showed that compassion when you opened up the pool for local residents. You showed that compassion when you opened up the rec department. You didn't have to do that, but you did. You didn't have to open up the pool for free or a minimal donation, but you did because it was the right thing to do. And this resolution is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's not left or right. It's not liberal or conservative. It's about compassion. And I will be so incredibly disappointed in all of you if you don't sign off on this. And I don't know, I am fairly certain you don't give a crap. But I do. And people will know. You need to stand up and support this because it's the right thing to do. Isabel, are you ready to do the right thing?
Come on.
Andy, are you ready to do the right thing?
Judy,
Brian, are you ready?
I'm always ready to do the right thing,
Don't-
Judy, but
don't-
right now,
Do not
I'm gonna move
ever
on.
do not interrupt me.
Can you please,
I'm asking you,
Parker?
are you ready to do the right thing?
Okay. Laura,
We're gonna have a discussion.
what's that?
We're gonna have a full discussion.
We'll have a discussion when it's all done.
Yeah.
Laura Sermily, and I too am grateful that the town pool was opened as a cooling center and the rec center. I wanted to let the board know that we've done an update of the Looking for Middlebury Area Resources brochure for summer, and there are a lot of changes in that brochure. And I learned so much from doing that project, and that project came out of the Middlebury Area Homelessness Task Force maybe 5 years ago, where we created this Gotta Go brochure because we wanted people to know where they could access a bathroom. And that transformed into this brochure that you see today. It's blue and gold, and it's proven to be incredibly helpful. And the library, our town, shepherds that now. It's their project. You know, so I work with them to help them update that brochure, but it's theirs, which is yours, you know, like, so it's ours, we do that. And it's an incredible service, you know, and we have that posted at the town website. BMP has it up on their site, the library has it at their site. So this is where you can get food, where you can cool off, where you can access essential resources, housing resources. And we know how tough it is. Judy mentioned this family that came to Charterhouse. Actually, they visited me while I was working at the church before that, looking for water. And they have a housing voucher, but they can't access housing. And we hear these stories all the time. So in the meantime, it's great that we can provide whatever relief we can. And our library and our town rec department are doing great jobs, and you are doing great jobs, and we want to keep going with that. The other thing I noticed from doing the brochure is that a lot of the services are moving down Exchange Street. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity, the food shelf, is now next to the Acorn Food Hub. And they're kind of complementing each other in terms of supporting that. And then their offices are further down by Desiree. I mention this because I know we have a plan to build out this multi-use path on Exchange Street, and it would be great to have that because we have so much more that people need to access on foot and bike down there. Plus, it'll be wonderful, you know, for the employees on Exchange Street to be able to access that too. So I'm just saying that I'm here to help you advance that project in any way that you can on behalf of the Walk Bike Council. That's that hat, and then I'm very encouraged, and I hope, that you will continue to support the brochure, as an essential resource in getting the word out and sharing it yourselves in any way that you can. So I just wanted to update you on that. And finally, the library hosted a Vermont Humanities Council discussion of the Common Read Gather, which is about a young boy who becomes homeless and befriends his dog, which he names Gather because they're both good at gathering. And it was very touching, and it was offered in conjunction with CVOEO, who reminded us that night that they have wonderful services to support tenants and landlords, and they encouraged us to come to select boards to just remind people who are watching, that resource is available. So if you are either a tenant or a landlord and you're looking for help in these times, to keep people in housing, that is available to you, and just reach out to them, and that information is on the brochure and of course online. So I just wanted to mention that too.
Is the brochure a physical? Where can we get it?
It's
Besides
being-
online.
It's at the library and at all the places that are listed in the brochure, so the town office has some copies. Yeah, and it's being printed right now, like this week as I speak. And we're a little behind. Usually we release it in May for the summer, but there were so many changes that kept coming that we wanted to be sure that the information was correct. Like we have Turning Point Center now on Court Street, and we've got Gather now on Court Street. There were a lot of changes, that were incorporated in the brochure, and that's very important for both the agencies and ourselves to be informed of that. So it's a valuable exercise, and I learn a lot from doing it, and I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, thanks for doing it.
Okay.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, anybody else here for something that's not on the agenda? We've got Emily.
Seems small tonight. Not having, is it just two? Yeah. We have, first up, two different wastewater engineering contracts for the design phase, design and permitting. The first one is for the main pump station and the sequential batch reactor control upgrades. I wanted to pull this project out and do it as a separate design because we will potentially get better funding and we can release it before the larger project goes. We're having a lot of issues with our controls and also at the main pump station, and so because this whole project can be done separately, it made more sense to align it differently. It's still included in our overall bond total, but will just be broken out for the funding and the design agreement.
You had talked about doing that back when we had our briefing though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
This is something you've been working on.
Yeah,
for a
we've been
while.
working on it, just trying to figure out the best approach. I applied with SRF funding. I put in 4 or 5 different applications, sort of as these, one as the whole project, and then the different segments. That way the state can sort of phase it too in their funding, so that they're aware of what we're going to be putting in there.
Is there any questions? Fred?
So in the infrastructure committee, the minutes of that meeting of June 12th just were posted here a day or so ago. It's too bad they're not in your packet because the infrastructure committee, Dan and I attended, and both of us questioned, there's a pretty large lump sum in each of these. One of them's 2-point-something million and the other's 400 and something thousand. And apparently the way this is done for projects of this scale is on a percentage basis of the total
That's how
construction.
SRF calculates the actual engineering
Which,
cost.
you know, it seems like, but at the meeting, we heard from Luther Tenney and Dave DiBiase, who, both of whom in their jobs, or Dave in his prior job as with State of Vermont Buildings, are dealing with procurement of engineering services on multi-million-dollar projects, and apparently this is the way it's done. So it was foreign to us, but that reassurance from Luther and David was influential in the infrastructure committee. So they recommended this, and there's some more data with at the infrastructure committee. The sheet that shows the breakdowns, for example, is in your infrastructure committee packets. If you want to see, there are some items that are, not to exceed amounts, small amounts mostly. But the main difference is that as Emily was saying, the pump station is about an 18-month, whereas the main engineering project is 28 months. And this is only, altogether, this is like $3 million worth of engineering. Is about half of the total $49 million, is because there's bid and construction phase and other things yet to come. So it's just a scale of engineering. The other point that was made in the meeting was that it's not as simple as just replacing the blowers. And there's a question, well, does that need a lot of engineering? Well, you're doing this while the plant is operating, while the blower is supplying the important amount of oxygen needed to feed the bacteria to process the wastewater, and has to be the controls for it, the computer linkages and everything. So it's a very, very complex process. There's a lot more to it than was apparent. And I don't know, Dan, whether you have more to add beyond that. But.
Well, I think I started that conversation because this is just, to me, is pretty expensive time. So if this is $3.2 million, and I know the project's $50 million, but and I understand that a lot of the design is going to be sequencing and keeping the system online and everything, but I was just kind of, I should have done this earlier. How many thousands of hours are going to go into this? Because I think it's got to be thousands and thousands.
It's thousands. It's like almost 3 years of engineering. It's a lot.
Okay.
Of a lot of, there's process engineers, there's the mechanical engineers, there's a lot of different engineers, and they each have their specialty, and they come together to produce the final design.
And as I preface my comments at the infrastructure committee, mine are naive comments. I'm just shocked that we're paying as much for designs as we have for projects that we've done. It's just, to me, if I was thinking about it, this looks like a lot of plug and play. All this stuff that's going to be put in there is not manufactured here. It's not being built here. It's taking a widget and putting it in.
That's probably oversimplifying it.
Well, yeah, that's my gift.
Because a lot of the existing infrastructure is also being replaced. Like all of the pipes and all of that are also being replaced with this upgrade because they all have a lifespan that we've exceeded. So
it's probably every piece of pipe and every piece of wiring is going to be brand new.
We will be left with the shells of the buildings, and all of the guts are being replaced essentially. So the more complicated part of the process plant is getting rebuilt.
Is this part of that 50 million, or is it besides that?
Yeah, I think we had 6.9 for engineering, I believe. Let me, hang on.
Total?
6.43, 453.
This is what, 3.3 something?
Yeah.
3.35 or
And
so?
so this is step 2, level 2 engineering, which is the design and permitting phase. We're working through the final approval from the state for the step 1, which we had 968,000 for, and I believe our contract with Ray Pierce was more, I wouldn't want to quote it directly, it was under 300,000 is what we actually contracted. So, there's a little bit of give and take between, and this is reimbursed. A good portion of the engineering gets reimbursed by SRF, not all of it, but so there is guaranteed funding for some of this.
think another component, other members of the infrastructure committee asked about the points at which the consultant would circle back, particularly speaking for the energy committee. They're interested, as you know,
Yep.
about the decision choice of how the big sludge drying component is going to be done, and being on the front end of that and understanding how the engineer, you were coming to a recommendation on that, it was important to ask about. So I can't think of anything else but anyway, there was, I'm sorry we don't have the minutes of this, that members could see that there was a lot of inquiry into this. So the pump station part is a shorter, it's like 18 months, and the other one's at 28 months.
Yeah,
So-
and the pump station part, I'm still going after hazard mitigation funding for a portion of that project, for the flood mitigation
That from the
portion.
flood, yeah.
So I think one of the funding sectors got shut down, but there's still an alternate avenue that we could potentially get 350,000 up right around there reimbursed. So I think some of that cost for the work at the main pump station we can get through FEMA.
Questions? Questions? Isabel, Andy?
It's unfortunately not the last large number we're going to see related to.
Well, if you said 6 point something in total, that's just the engineering, then
Yeah.
we still have half of the engineering, or close to half left to approve.
But it's
Exactly.
sort of like a large retaining crime, because the scope of this, how many hours exactly is to be seen. So, but it's covered in the lump sum, and they have to do it whether they estimate it right or wrong, right?
Yeah.
So if you and the manager are satisfied that this contract completely covers our needs for that, then, and you're not, let the record know you're nodding.
This is probably one we ought to have legal review this. Should we have legal review this? Should we have Dave review this, our resident attorney?
I'm not your town's attorney, for the record.
It's the
Very
same
clear.
contract that we
Obviously.
use for all of our SRF
It
applications.
is, okay.
Yeah, it's
So
the
this has
mandatory.
been reviewed sometime in the
Yes,
past.
it's
Yeah.
the state mandated contract
Oh,
for
okay.
that funding source.
That makes it easy.
So with trepidation, I guess I would move, the Select Board approve the Middlebury main pump station SBR controls upgrade final design engineering agreement with Wright Pierce for $479,900 for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Last opportunity for questions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It was a really resounding aye.
Well, the even more taunting one, I move the Select Board approve the Middlebury WWTF upgrade Step 2 final design engineering agreement with Wright Pierce for $2,885,400 for approval.
Second.
Been seconded. Questions on that? With none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous again.
Okay, moving along, so, the Exchange Street pedestrian project, we are taking that over from regional planning for project management. I'm still getting all of the documents and things that have transpired over the last decade or more. But we did ask the engineer for an updated anticipated construction cost for the project, and they're at the 60% level, just beyond 60%. So there's still a little bit of uncertainty in the final design, but usually at that point you have an accurate concept. And they came up with just over 1,060,177 if we were constructing today. So what I would like is approval to submit for grant funding through the V-Trans Bike Ped program. There's a grant application that's currently open. It's due July 11th. So we have about 708,000 in funding. And so by the time we would construct with the additional engineering needed, I think we'd be looking at a $1.2 million project. And so I'd like to apply for this grant to help fill that gap. It's a 80-20 match, and so the town would be responsible for the 100,000, the 20%. In addition, I think on the 2 prior funding rounds, we have a 10% match on those.
Questions or comments? So, Laura?
Yeah, so the Walk by Council did talk about how we could support the town with this project. So if you need letters of support, from us or others in order to support the grant application, we know about that, and we
Okay.
want to support that.
Okay.
And you, so
I appreciate that.
let
Thank
us
you.
know. And we know the deadline is July 11th, so.
It's July 11th.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
And we're glad that you're taking it over because it's been languishing, as we know. So I just wanted to say that. And there might be other funding sources too. I don't know if we can help you find anything else or you're aware of anything else, but if you need that help.
These are the funding sources that I have always historically used for bike ped projects. Just because they do allow for larger amounts being assigned, but if you find another source, by all means,
Okay.
get it to me.
Okay. Anyway, I just want to express support
Okay,
for
yeah.
it and you and the application
Okay.
by the deadline. I can definitely get you a letter for
Okay.
Walk Bike, and if
We might need one, I forget with this application, it's either from the town manager or from the select board, but I haven't gone through the documentation at all. It's the same funding source that we've used
Yeah.
for the next project.
Okay, that's it.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
So even though the agenda notes say that the recent estimate is $1,060,000, you think it's gonna go up another 200,000?
1,060,000 doesn't include the engineering to get us to final design. It doesn't include construction inspection, and that's the estimate for today if we were going to construction. And we won't be in the capacity to get it to construction this season, so once you add another year to the cycle.
Emily, can you remind me how long this proposed sidewalk is?
Distance or in the years we've been working on it, Andy?
Both are long.
It's 2,000 feet? I forget off the top of my head.
I don't know the feet, but it goes down to Catamount Park.
Yeah, it's the first segment, so it goes from the intersection to Catamount Park, and then the town has historically applied for this is phase 1 and 2, and then phase 3 goes from Catamount Park up to Route 7, which would be the next.
So the intersection is the intersection with, where Greg's is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
That's-
takes
yeah,
takes
sorry.
you from Greg's out to Catamount. The state had indicated that until we get that done, they're probably not interested in giving us more. We've had some of this funding since 2014. And it's disappointing, but it's nice that we've gotten it to the point where it looks like we can get it actually done if we can get the funding finally. We had some issues. I mean, there was a property stuck in probate for an extended period of time. That until we had that solved and had the approval of the right of way, we couldn't build the sidewalk. Then we had a couple others that were holdouts on right of way that we had to meet with on several occasions and convince them why it was beneficial and come up with a settlement. So I'm very happy that Emily's taken this over. I have a lot of confidence and I will look forward to seeing that go by on the front of a business property so employees can walk at lunchtime safely.
Andy, Google Earth says it's about 3,600 feet from Greg's Market to
Yeah, I
Park.
just did the same calculation. That is an amazing expense.
That is amazing.
And then a lot of it is because of the requirements of when you're taking the grant funding. I've had this angst ever since we got our first estimate. I couldn't believe how much the estimate was, but
This is a somewhat wider sidewalk too, right?
it's a shared use.
I
plan.
don't have the plans
Yeah.
yet.
Oh,
I'm still
I know-
working on getting all
I
of
think
the
like 6 years
information.
ago, we talked about it, that it expanded in width from a normal
We went to
sidewalk
a
to a,
multi-use.
like triple, so
Yeah.
that was a long time
Which is
ago.
another reason why it's more expensive.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad you're taking it over.
If 3/4 of a mile of road cost $1 million to put in, oh, sorry, $1.25 million to put in, we would never build a road. Especially here, right? It's flat. Like it's all right there. This boggles my
Not that
mind.
simple.
you know what's funny is in 2019, when I built the building that Vita and Beesrap are in, I was required to put a sidewalk to the future sidewalk. So I have a sidewalk that goes to nothing right now, so
If you build it, they will come.
that's,
It may be.
I know what I think. But we need to support this, in my mind, to try to get this to, that's a very risky road. Need a motion.
I move to authorize the DPW to apply for $500,000 additional funding through VTrans Bicycle Pedestrian Program to support Exchange Street Planned Pedestrian Improvement Project.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Connectivity project.
Connectivity. So through the same funding program, last summer I applied for a $1.09 million grant for the Greater Buttolph Neighborhood Connectivity Project. And part of the driver of this was Stonecrop Development needing sidewalk connectivity to Brookside to get kids to school safely. And then also the interest on Rogers Road in Monroe, that southern end of the neighborhood where there are a lot of kids trying to get access the main sidewalks to get to schools. So we were granted the funding last summer, but we just barely received the contract award. And so I haven't been able to bring an engineer into the conversation, but we finally got approval to move forward with Otter Creek, and they have presented us with a proposal for the design and engineering through the bidding phase of the project. These typically take, well, in my experience, these typically take 2 to 3 years to get them to construction, but obviously we've seen where in other cases it right away can really complicate these projects. I don't think we'll have those complications on this one, but they're hopefully within 2 years we could get some of this under construction.
If only this was known about at the time the developments were approved and the roads were smack in the middle. I mean, it means that in some places you have to either try to acquire additional right-of-way or put the sidewalk right up against the road, so there's no place to put the snow.
Yeah.
You plow the road, snow goes into the sidewalk, and plow the sidewalk goes back on the road. Having a tree belt like we were able to fit in on Brookside Drive is both valuable for safety and very helpful for public works, not even having to shovel snow back and forth.
Yeah.
And I know the picture on one of these proposals shows a sidewalk up against it. You're gonna have to do that probably in some places, but I sure hope we'll be able to have the tree belt, or the green belt, wherever we can.
We definitely want to wherever space allows.
The other question I had, Daniel Drive, I know there's not a lot of through traffic on it, but it's a very wide street, and
It's so wide.
students going to the middle school, obviously it's the straightest course there to the corner where the crosswalk goes, so I understand why that's important for connectivity, but it seems like, I don't know how that street got to be so wide. It was in the 60s, I guess, when they improved it.
I would love to make it less wide, and potentially with this project we can.
You think a sidewalk is needed there, even though there's very little through traffic?
No, I don't, well, I don't know. I think we have to get into the engineering phase of it to really figure out what we need in that section, but I've measured that road multiple times, and we could easily remove 5 to 10 feet of pavement and still have a perfectly safe travel way now. So I think we could get creative. It all depends on how it gets laid out.
As much as 10 feet in places.
That might be a stretch. It's really wide. You should try.
Removing it to turn it into a sidewalk, or removing it for what? Like, what would it become? The stuff that you remove? A sidewalk?
Turn it back to grass.
Oh, to grass?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, grass is cool.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it might be.
It could be stormwater. I mean, it could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, I think anytime you can remove pavement, there's opportunities for what you do with it.
You have an update on the speed bumps yet?
We have been in discussion about the speed bumps. I had included the potential for traffic calming in this project. And so I would like to get the engineer on board before we make permanent decisions that we may later regret. So I would rather have more engineering done to be putting in anything
I
permanent.
thought we talked about putting some temporary ones for this summer,
I
right?
think we had discussed it. I think the last time it came up at the select board, I don't know if we were given concise direction of which way we wanted to go, if we put them in or not. We could do it as temporary for the summer and then take them out again.
So that's what the neighbors are asking us,
Yeah.
are they going to put it in or not? So the indication they had was they're going to be something done for the summer, temporary, until this project goes along.
I think it's the pleasure of the board. If that's what you want to see done as a temporary measure, then we can support that.
One of the issues of the temporary was what it does to the pavement and.
They have to get pinned
so-
in.
So are the holes still there where we pinned it last year? Could
They
you go
are.
right back to that same spot
Yes, and
without creating more
Yeah.
issues?
I did speak to Dave yesterday about this to get an update on the timeline for the speed tables, and we did during that conversation agree to just install the speed bumps in the exact same locations in the same pin spots until
Yeah.
there was some confusion at the time, or not enough information, maybe is a better way to phrase this, at the time about what the timeline on the speed bumps, the speed tables
More
actually
permanent.
was. So
Yeah.
we hit the pause button until we had enough information, but that looks like it's gonna be far enough out that we can just go ahead and put those temporary speed bumps back in where they were.
So
We were talking about moving them to a different spot, but then you create
Then you-
the same potential issue. And after I've listened to small towns, I mean, there's, other than speed tables, there's other traffic slowing things that wouldn't be impact snow removal, for instance.
Yep.
So I'd love to have the engineering first. Personally, I think having a master plan is what makes the most sense versus taking it street by street. Pretty soon we get, X in one street and Y in another, and there's no continuity for the way it even looks.
Yep, that makes sense. I think part of this funding, you're required to have 3 different public meetings. And the first one is a very informative meeting that usually has the most participation, and different alternatives get discussed. So I think that would be the place to have that conversation.
So the conversation has ranged to what ought to be planned for long-term, so we have the same system and that the investments we make for tables are long-term, but it sounds like we are going to do the temporary measures. We don't need a motion on that.
Same location so that we don't have to
Okay,
put new holes in the pavement.
thank you.
Because whenever this project happens, but it's going to take some time, right? this connectivity one.
Yeah, I think.
So until then, I don't think they have the clarity, the neighbors, that
Correct.
whether this is gonna happen or not, the temporary ones. So they want, that's what they're wondering.
Sounds like we have it now.
Yeah, we can install the temporary ones.
He said it can be done quickly and easily, and
I think so,
I
yeah.
think it's on their list for this week, so.
Okay.
Laura?
Yeah, just quickly related to that, if you do put them in, and they do work, you know, to calm traffic, the beginning of the school year is really when they'll be most impactful. And last year, they were taken up by the beginning of October, but we didn't have snow until really much later. And I wonder if you would consider leaving them in place at least another month before taking them up, if you put them down, you know, so that more of the school year is taken care of.
And not for nothing, Halloween is a very busy time in the neighborhood with kids, and if you left them up till October 31st, it would also slow some traffic during that night, which is always stressful with little kids running around that neighborhood.
Would that be okay?
Favorite?
I think I mean, it's just hard, it's weather dependent, and so
Yeah.
if we do get early snowstorms, we're in big trouble if they're still in place. So if there is weather predicted, I think we need the flexibility of being able to move them, get them out of there.
Right, so would we know that in October? That we were expecting?
You'll know whether it's gonna snow on Halloween a day or two before, maybe.
Okay,
It might just be a dusting, but it doesn't take a long time to pop them out, does it?
I've never done it, Fred. Honestly, I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
it's just pinned down in a few places.
Go there with the,
yeah.
I watched them.
We could
put
get it
them
up
in
with a
in
snowplow.
About 15 minutes.
Yeah,
So-
It's pretty simple.
okay.
Okay,
Procedure.
thank you.
yeah.
Any questions on this? Emily's looking for a motion.
I'll move to authorize the Department of Public Works to enter into the proposed agreement with Otter Creek Engineering for $112,500 for Greater Buttolph Neighborhood Connectivity Project Design Engineering Services.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Other opportunity for questions, comments? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous? Other project updates?
Oh.
Anything big going on?
Look. Middle Road North is under construction. They are moving right along, pouring curb today. Sidewalk should be going in next week for the section between the middle school and the athletic fields. And they have the road widening completed in that section. They've moved up and worked on the stormwater, couple of culverts up by La Crosse Drive that needed to get replaced. And then once those phases are complete, they'll be able to jump up to the intersection and start working on that box cut at Route 7 to get the turning lane built out more adequately. And I'm still waiting on the cost estimate for realigning Deerfield Lane slightly, but I don't think it'll be a huge amount. They're holding all of their prices for us, so it's like relocating a hydrant is going to be one of the larger costs, but it would greatly improve that intersection. We got approval from the wetlands regulator to move ahead with it without permitting.
Any questions of Emily while she's here? Thank you, superstar.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, this must be, one of you must be Tim.
Guys got to sit through an exciting select board meeting.
You know, I go to a lot of select board meetings. And
I'll bet you do.
It's very, it's a great look into our local communities, so valuable part of what we do, for sure. Tim Jones, Green Mountain Power. I'm a program manager in our infrastructure department. Kyle Buxton, who's our operational supervisor, Middlebury District. We're returning. Thank you, David and Mark's team, for facilitating our appearance here today. we were here about a year ago presenting our Old Town Road project. At that time, we had not embarked on our Forest Service permitting at the time. So last night we were in Ripton. Tonight we're here to announce that our Forest Service permitting is fully complete. We have our final permit to bury our three-phase line under, basically taking overhead and going underground on Old Town Road. And the map we showed you here basically just depicts, the underground burial of the line, and with a couple of segments where we're going to be overhead. Really, the only one that pertains to Middlebury is the start of the project at Upper Plains Road, where we'll be rebuilding in place overhead to avoid some sensitive resources, and then there's another segment interior to the project where we have a combination of stream crossing and some other historical resource areas to avoid. So other than that, the project as we depicted last year. So we are ready to do the project. We expect to be able to get into this project late summer, so probably August, and we would take the month of July basically to get all our logistics together, figure out what we need for laydown area. We do have a bit of an impasse in the middle of the project here from the culvert washout, so we're trying to figure out how much of the project can be accessed from one side to the other. So just some loose ends to work out over the next month. I did fill out the right-of-way permit application that David directed me to today and submitted to him before I came here tonight. So I believe that's our ask of the town at this point, is your permission to work in the road right-of-way at Upper Plains Road, and the rest of the way through under Forest Service guidance as well. So,
Questions of the board?
Any of this planned to
Can you
service?
remind us, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I was just wondering, I remember the presentation last year, but not crystal clear. Can you remind us what the value of burying this piece of wire is?
Sure. So it's part of our storm hardening campaign that we've been on. We actually have a program that's centered in the southern half of the state. It's called our Zero Outage Initiatives. But we're taking the technology that we've developed there to underground our lines to the maximum extent that we can, especially in rural dirt road areas such as Old Town Road. So basically the calculus is, and Kyle can attest the challenges of that line, the number, frequency, duration of the outages, plus the access and our safety of our GMP folks getting in there and rebuilding that every time it comes down. So the advantage of burying is, taking the line, putting it underground. That will eliminate the future need for any tree trimming and maintenance of that kind, and the frequency or the potential for outages are nearly eliminated unless we had some sort of material defect. So it will be completely out of the weather, underground, and untouchable from the elements. So that's the primary advantage, and it's our highest and best storm hardening tactic that we have at GMP.
Thanks for that. I really appreciate the tree trimming aspect of it and letting the mature trees grow beside the road.
Yeah, and we understand. Again, I think I believe the plan long term is still to turn that into a bypass for 125. So we'll be in the road. I guess it's believe that or not, but that was sort of the premise when we met with Ripton. They had a study done, so not sure what the future holds there, but for us, we're going to follow the existing road bed through the terrain there, and if it ever becomes a bypass, it'll be buried and out of the way.
Talk about money. Ooh. What happens with the other utilities that are on the communication lines?
Sure.
The poles
Yep.
stay there, and
So we've already met. Kyle's taken the lead on that with our joint utility partners, is the term of art that we use, and they have all met. And what we have typically been doing, GMP has been taking the initiative and putting a spare interduct in the ground as we bury that can hold up to 3 joint utility packages and so forth, and that's how we're enticing our joint utilities to get off the poles so we can truly bury and abandon. So I believe, and Kyle can attest, that we have them on queue. that we're gonna be doing this project this summer. So first phase would be for GMP to go in there, bury everything. We're gonna bury our duct. I believe one of our partners probably has their own material that they, duct that they want, that they don't wanna share. So they'll furnish that material to us, and we'll go ahead and direct bury everything. We'll make all our terminations, do what overhead work we have, energize our line, and then it'll be their turn to come in and pull through just that one segment, essentially same from Upper Plains to the gated area at the other end of Old Town Road.
Is this all intended to be just transmitting? No, in other words, is there any places where you're planning for houses?
There's only one service in there right now currently, so I don't believe that there's...
That's way up on the Ripton end, right?
Yep.
Very end?
There's one down on the lower end before the ravine. Glen Peck's got a camp in there or something.
Oh.
That's the one place that I can think of.
Yeah, and then it's just service at the other end of the...
Is that in Ripton or Middlebury?
I'm not sure where the line is going up through there, but I think it's on the Middlebury end.
About number 141 in your map, I think, from memory. Forest Service spent a lot of time researching this. It was an old stage road laid out from the courthouse towards Boston. They wanted to establish it was a town right-of-way so they could do what they wanted to do with it in future access through forest lands or whatever. Anyway, so the town has a work in the right-of-way permit approval process for this. I mean, the select board can make a motion on this, but it says in the agenda notes it's pending approval by...
We're just going to take the documents that Tim submitted, run them by Dave DiBiase as a normal ROW permit. We talked about that earlier, so you'd be approving it subject to that. And then Dave can do his normal due diligence.
All right, I move to support the Green Mountain Power... Oh, you have a
I
question?
have
Sorry.
one question, sorry. I wasn't here last year. It sounds like you gave a presentation last year, but is this particular segment of, like, typically problematic for outages, or is this part of a larger system of upgrades systematically throughout the area?
All of those things, right? So our program down the southern part of the state is that we have a list of circuits that are underperforming. So we have a list. So number of customers, line miles, frequency, duration, intensity of outages, and so forth. And so that calculus goes together, and that helps us prioritize. This line, the Old Town Road, fits that profile for this area. So it's an underperforming circuit with a lot of business and customers on the other end of it. So Kyle can speak more to just sort of tangling with that line.
Yeah, I mean, I was a line worker for the Middlebury area for 20 years before I was here. I spent a lot of storms up there, and actually just a lot of even lightning storms, not even big winter storms or that kind of stuff. It's one of our most vulnerable spots in our district. So.
Thank you.
Sure. But just about the whole pole line will come down. So once everything's done, everything will come down. That's part of our permitting condition with the Forest Service, as well as they like to see it all go underground.
So I'd move to authorize the Department of Public Works to enter into the proposed... Oh, excuse me, wrong one. I move to support the Green Mountain Power request regarding the planned Old Town Road project pending approval of town work in their public right-of-way.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Thank you.
Kyle, yes, and if there's any hardening of the lines in the town of Middlebury, I'm sure we would be happy to underground the service this year.
Was today a peak Green Mountain Power use day because of the heat?
I would assume so, but I don't know. I don't.
Wondering.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Anyway, thank you for your partnership. We can't do these projects without the town. So
Thank you, everyone.
Looks like you're up, Mark.
Okay. Downtown Improvement District. There was a nice summary in the agenda notes. Hopefully you had a chance to read that before this evening. Our current ordinance is scheduled to lapse at the end of this month. And as you know, with a few new appointments on that committee, we have a very re-energized DIDC now, and they were able to secure more than the minimum number of petitions that we needed signed to keep that special assessment district alive and well. So we're looking for the board tonight to initiate that, to vote tonight to initiate the process to proceed with scheduling a public hearing and then updating and adopting the ordinance at that public hearing for another 7-year term. And I did just want to say, great job to everyone involved. This was a tall order and short time, and everyone came together and went out there and hit the streets and asked for signatures and did a great job pulling it together. So thank you to all the staff that worked on this and all of the DIDC members too.
Questions?
Mark, one little thing I noticed, because it's right next to the changes in the ordinance. In section 303, right below the change about the payment, it should probably be that the annual revenues shall be used rather than sued for the maintenance of the district.
Yes.
Good catch.
Good idea.
Sued for it. Okay.
I did not read it all that carefully. That just jumped out at me.
Which section is that?
303.
303.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll move to approve the amendments to the ordinance for the regulation of the Downtown Improvement District, subject to a public hearing and final vote by the Select Board, which will take place on July 10th, 2025 Select Board meeting.
Second.
8th. I correct that to July 8th.
Is it July 8th?
That's what he said.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
Tuesday.
eighth.
It's better than having a meeting on a Thursday, I guess.
Do we have a second?
I second. Yeah.
You second? Okay, any questions or comments? Can we get back to the picture of the team?
It's just minimize this. Oh. There we go.
All in favor, signal with a thumbs up or aye?
Aye.
Okay. I will not be here for the July 8th meeting, so be in California visiting
Only
family.
Dan is so dedicated, you know.
I'll be here.
I know.
I met everyone.
I know.
Okay, can we bring Mike into the?
Yeah. Mike, we're going to promote you here. Hang on. There you go, Mike. You just got to unmute.
Evening, Mike.
I'm just trying to figure out how to operate the computer. Can you actually promote Jolien as well?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Of course.
So hopefully everybody enjoyed the heat today. And one of the reasons we're here is because of this heat. So Jolien came to us a couple months ago to talk about an idea he had for getting a bunch of towns together to do an enhanced energy plan. And we successfully wrote a grant to the Public Service Department in order to allow us to pursue this. And what I'd like to do is, and I apologize for getting you the materials kind of late, so I'm not convinced everybody probably had a chance to read through all of the plans. But I'd like to just quickly turn it over to Jolien to talk a little bit about the overall idea behind the project and some of the outcomes that we might enjoy by participating in this. The other caveat I should say is that there are some shockingly, there are some kind of administrative and bureaucratic snafus that we've encountered. And so even though we've been provisionally awarded the money, it hasn't actually shown up, and we're not entirely convinced that it will. But if it does, what we're here tonight to do is to basically ask for your blessing to pursue this effort. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Jolien so he can explain in more detail exactly what is a enhanced energy plan and why we should pursue one.
Good evening, folks, and thanks for having me. Just a quick little background for those who haven't had a chance to meet me yet. I am the new energy planner with the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. I come by way of that job after completing my PhD at the University of Vermont in natural resources. Before that, I was at Indiana University, where I did my master's in energy policy. So I like energy stuff. It's kind of been my bread and butter for several years now, and was really excited to be able to step out of academia and get engaged on the practical side. So that's a little bit of my background, and I just want to say thanks again for having me. I initially came across the Enhanced Energy Conservation Block Grant, EECBG, back in, I believe, February. And after some conversations with a regional energy planner at the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, as well as the folks at the Department of Public Services, came to realize that this grant was structured in such a way that it was great for planning opportunities, but that it had a threshold for applying that was, I believe, around $20,000. Now, based off of the budgetary analysis that I had conducted, on a per plan basis, it was going to come well under $20,000. And so I got the idea that by grouping together interested municipalities to apply as a cohort, we could meet the budgetary threshold and get new enhanced energy plans for these municipalities. Middlebury was initially one of the municipalities that indicated interest in participation, but due to the tight turnaround in applying for the grant and the need to get at least a minimum of a signed letter of interest distributed to the Public Service Department, we initially obtained approval from the Energy Committee, I believe the Planning Commission as well, Mike, and I believe the town manager ultimately signed off it as well. So we had sort of initial, we're interested, but it wasn't even a funded grant at that point, and we always thought that if y'all really objected, then it would be okay to walk away. A letter of interest is not a contract. And so we wanted the chance to pursue this opportunity because, at least I believe, and I think the Energy Committee believes as well, that the development of an enhanced energy plan would present some interesting opportunities for Middlebury, whether it is starting to address the types of distribution and transmission problems that are sort of acting as a cap for new renewables generation in the area, whether it is growing the renewables generation in the area beyond what it currently satisfies, which is about 25% of the electricity demand of Middlebury from 2021, which we can anticipate to grow over time as increasing numbers of heat pumps and EVs come online in the area. And by having an enhanced energy plan that sets forth specific recommendations for obtaining, for example, renewable energy targets, we can have a clear pathway forward while also obtaining something called substantial deference in the planning process that is a part of Act 248. That is to obtain particular certificates of public good for new energy-sited facilities. And if we want the particular energy development that we're seeking to take place in the places that we would like it to do so, and sited in such a way that it makes sense for this community, then having a plan that indicates those siting characteristics and locations that receives substantial deference in the Act 248 process is a good idea. Another thing that I noticed as I was just quickly perusing is though the Middlebury community has quite a bit of prime locations for solar as well as wind resources, it doesn't have any noted preferred locations, as in places in the region where we would really like to have additional renewable development. And so this would be an opportunity at the local level to indicate preferred locations if we would like to go that route, where additional renewables development could take place. So I think there are a lot of advantages to having an enhanced energy plan. I think it gives an opportunity for the choices that make sense to be made locally. I think it gives an opportunity to steer and provide direction for the type of energy future that we'd want to have in Middlebury. And I'd really love it if the funding came through to enable me to help do it. So unfortunately tonight it's really more just an explanation of what I'd like to do and the explanation that I would have loved to have given earlier. And currently it is my understanding that the Public Service Department is in negotiations with the Department of Energy to essentially smooth over the opportunity for us to get this grant. That is kind of the stage where it's at right now, is that deliberation between the state and the feds. So hopefully it goes in our favor. It was money that was initially awarded to the state. The state doesn't really want to give it back. They gave us a conditional award, and they want that conditional award to essentially count as we got the money out in time. And so it's a part of that deliberation. But it would be a great opportunity, and I would love to have y'all's support for the project should it ultimately become resourced and feasible. But Mike thought it would be helpful to provide a bit more detail as the legislative body for this town that would ultimately have a review capacity relatively far down the line in development. So it would be helpful to have it be on your radar in that regard as well. So thank you. That's what I've got. I know that's a lot. Perhaps that's just my academic background that I'll talk for as long as anyone will let me. But I hope that I covered what you were hoping that I would, Mike. I don't know if I have time for questions, but my email is on the Regional Planning Commission's website. And if folks would like to discuss this further, perhaps that could be a more timely venue.
Questions or comments? Fred?
So this would be worked on with the Energy Committee and perhaps other committees of the town. Does the plan ultimately come to the Select Board for approval?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to have a comment on that motion, potential motion that's drafted in the agenda notes. It talks about the Energy Committee proceeding with a grant agreement. My understanding is that grant agreements are customarily the town manager's job to review and approve. And so I would just propose authorizing the Energy Committee to proceed with the grant agreement to be signed by the town manager on the Enhanced Energy Project should the grant be awarded. Did I say that was a motion? I meant to.
That was your motion?
You didn't say it was a motion, but you want to make that?
Yeah.
Can you restate it?
Move to authorize the Energy Committee to proceed and for the grant agreement to be signed with the town manager for the state of Vermont on the Enhanced Energy Project should the grant be awarded.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? This actually is something we've talked about for quite a few years, is to have a more comprehensive energy plan. And when we approved the college's solar, way back when that was done, was to have some preferred sites for future solar development, and we haven't gotten there yet. So I think this would be welcome. Certainly it's a key feature of our community is how we provide the energy, so having a plan for it and to link all of the county together would be great. So hopefully we can get it.
That's my hope as well.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Thank you. Well, thank you, guys, and good luck.
Thanks all.
Thanks, guys.
The grant.
Let's hope the DOE gives us the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The grant environment's kind of challenging right now. You don't know till you got the money in your pocket.
It's nice meeting you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, board member concerns, Fred.
When the board created its committees and assignments, one of the ones was the town college committee. And I'm not aware, since I came on the board year and a ago that we've had a town college committee meeting.
We have,
I'm sorry.
Or maybe, I just am not aware of it.
yeah, that's, that's meeting with the college president. And we had an outgoing president who was working on the exit strategy, then an interim. And so we do hope to get this started with the new president who comes on very soon.
Okay, I wondered if I'd missed something.
Nope, we habitually met quarterly, and it got thrown into disarray and has been in disarray since COVID. We've met at the most twice a year since then. So, well, I find it to be time well spent to ensure that, I mean, this is the largest player in our community, and make sure that we have a shared vision and that we know what's going on, so that we can dovetail plans and talk about issues.
There also was a town college agreement that I think needs to get
Has to be
renewed
renewed, yes. It's on
for financial support.
the pilot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I also am not gonna be here July 8th. I will be in Maine, in the woods.
The
So
woods?
I would zoom in, but I'm not going to have an internet connection.
That's a good excuse.
Sorry.
That's about the only acceptable excuse. by the way.
He zooms in from the ship.
I happen to know I'm gonna be at a winery, so.
That's marginally okay.
That's all I got.
Did you have anything else?
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm sorry to bring this up, but this resolution that we signed, and I saw it earlier in the week, and I should have said something, I didn't. But, and if you don't agree with me, I'll sign it anyways. But the last thing is number 5, urge other Vermont select boards to adopt similar resolutions. I'm uncomfortable with that. You know, we're the ones that made the decision to do it here, and I'm uncomfortable. And I know we're not going to make calls or anything, but I just feel uncomfortable with that sentence there.
I kind of interpreted that as an implication of having signed it means that we are encouraging others to do it. But that's just how I interpreted it. I didn't interpret it as picking up a phone and
No, I
actively
understand,
urging.
but I just, with the deliberations that we've gone through and how we did it, I think I don't think we have any input into other towns, what they're doing. So
I agree with you, but the discussion they started was they are approaching several select boards, and one signing might encourage other ones to sign also.
Well, that we're gonna sign it. I just don't like that sentence that we personally are urging the other select boards to adopt a similar resolution.
I don't think we're personally reaching out to any of them, right? It's
Well, it
just-
says there, urge other Vermont select boards to adopt similar resolutions.
Yeah.
Is there
My
wiggle
suggestion
room
would
to
be
change that
deleted.
word? Like inspire other select boards to?
My idea would be to delete that number 5. Just one voice.
I would be somewhat offended if another select board implied that they were suggesting how we should behave in similar matters.
To me, we shouldn't be arrogant enough to think that we can influence other select boards in doing this.
I'm okay with striking that part, I mean, but it's a majority rule, so.
I think I agree with you. I think it's like it's the effect. It's the people who brought us the resolution that was their desired outcome that our signing it would influence other select boards,
Right.
and that's great. And I think that's great. But we don't. But it is misleading. I think you're right. to say actively urge, or it's not the saying actively, but the word urge
Right.
implies that some action on our part,
Yeah.
which I don't think we are.
Do you have this on your computer?
Yeah.
Do you have it on you?
can run up, yeah.
Can you do that? That'd be great. Anything else,
Sorry.
Dan?
Should have sent you up earlier. That's it.
That's it? Rod?
I have no concerns, but just an observation, with that discussion earlier with the resolution and stuff. Previously, when Kathleen was around, under town manager's report, there will be a current correspondence link. We can click on and you can see anybody who had emailed us or sent us letters. So I don't see that recently. So I think it said from the week of 8/9 to 8/24 or something. So
It was called
I think-
correspondence.
yeah, for the last 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So anybody who sent you an email or something, it goes there automatically.
Email intended for the board.
Intended for the
Yeah,
board.
it's in the packet.
Or there would be,
Or that you feel ought to go to the
or they'll
board.
feel that you go to the board, yeah.
I didn't want to bury you in emails.
No. You get other emails, huh?
Couple.
Isabel?
We had a wonderful swearing-in ceremony for our new dog mayor last Monday. It was wonderful, and we got a lot of recognition on the local and regional news, which was really great too. A lot of the feedback is that a lot of people really like the program, and it brings light and a fun little humor to civics and voting and elections and community engagement. So that was really great. And our new dog mayor will be at the grand reopening, I believe they're calling it, of Town Hall Theater this weekend. So tons of different events starting on Friday, going all the way to Sunday, and some of those events are even free and open to the community.
Andy?
I was just checking while the energy plan proposal was up and saw that the entire community development block grant program in HUD is cut in the proposed budget bill, which I know we get a lot of funding through there. I expect we're going to see tons of federal sources dry up substantially in the next year or two.
Anything good to say?
Sorry, nothing good today.
So I would like to just, I mean, my time's going to be short here, but one of the things that I have fought is to try to keep us as balanced. We have a really nice representation of a cross-section, and we can have excellent deliberation on issues that directly impact the town. It is very easy to get caught up and chase your tail in every issue that comes along. And we have a half dozen, call it 20 people that might have to be bringing something to us. We have a town of 8,000 people. And Fred, I know you say, you know, it's easy to appease people, but it's just going to be, it feeds on itself. And my word of caution to you is and this is where Heather was great, was like, you know, staff time, our time, what's our resources and how do we utilize those resources? And so I guess I'm getting on my soapbox, but I really am fearful for us. We called it in the military mission creep. I'm going to call it that we're, you know, we all have things that we're passionate about, but we have a mission here that we have to focus on to get done. We've done a great job. This select board historically has done a great job of being resourceful and focused on delivering the services and taking care of the needs of the community. And so if we want to start becoming, spending a lot of time debating, and frankly, if you aren't going to spend the time having debate and citizens getting engaged, it means nothing to sign proclamations, because they're not, I mean, you know, it'd be easier to just start throwing out proclamations and people become a laughingstock, because it's just not taken seriously. You know, I think as a very serious I feel like we have the burden of making sure that we're taking care of the community, and that means everybody. And if you're going to be taking up every issue, you need to put it out, let people give us feedback on it. And you know, that's where Andy made a really good point. We heard some negative things about just the painting of the sidewalks. This is not a community that's all like-minded. And we've been very well respected because we haven't gotten into the political upset. I just am very fearful about doing that, and especially on an issue that is very clearly, it's a judicial issue, and it's being taken up. And Judge Sessions took it up. I just heard him speak today, so it was timely. And, you know, it took a lot of guts on his part to rule, given the national scene. But
in principle, I agree with everything you say. It makes sense. There's so much we can do. There's so much you can take on, and we are not cut out to take on this role. But the human side of me is always. You talked about one of your customers, like 10 people.
8.
I lost 2 employees who were migrant workers who were so fearful that they stopped coming to the store. They stopped sending their kids to school. So at some point, it's just like being quiet is being complicit is what I feel like, personally speaking. As a board, we have a different role, I know that, but I don't know what the middle ground is. I struggle with it. You make good points, you know, we have to, and Andy made an excellent point when he said that somebody from the fire department may have supported Trump or whatever, right? We may not agree with it, but they are our constituents also. So it's hard to balance it. Every single time you bring this up, I'm going to vote yes, because that's my human side that's going to take over at that time, because I have seen this firsthand, the suffering of people, whether you're talking about the war overseas, whether you're talking about the migrant workers or the funding cuts. They all impact us. We can never say that it doesn't impact us. It impacts every one of us. Maybe it's not our role. I agree.
I just don't feel it's a role issue. I mean,
I
I wrote letters.
I agree.
I wrote a letter to the ag secretary, the governor, when those 8 migrant workers, when ICE went on the farm.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't even out in the community. They went on the farm. We took action, but I did it as a personal individual.
Yeah.
I just don't feel that our role is to be activists in that sense.
And I think that's true. We all feel like you do.
Yeah.
But we as a select board,
and you
you know,
feel so helpless
when we
sometimes.
read our operating procedures, basically, you know, in some cases, we have to ignore our personal feelings and do what's best for the community. And what's best for the community is we stick to the business.
I don't agree with that part, that we are doing the best for the community. We are constricted by our role, is what I'm going to define it as, because we have not done any good service to the community by not speaking up. But it's not our role, I understand that.
We just said the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, I think we should think about it, and everybody should weigh in on whether we're gonna be taken up, because I'm telling you, if you'd have to be blind not to see, there are a lot more issues out there than just that one.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we have, there's 3 or 4 new ones in the paper every day, okay? And I don't have the energy to take them all up in this forum. And I don't feel like it's our place. So that's just my one opinion. And if we're to put stuff like that on, you'll have to vote it on, because I work, you know, Andy and I work with Dave to create the agenda, and I have intentionally tried to keep those things off in the past. So I need to know how you guys feel about it. So I look for a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.